Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into a really strange and honestly unsettling mystery that's happening right now off the coast of Spain and Portugal. It's a story where the ocean's top predator has started, well, targeting sailboats.
Just imagine it for a second. You're out on the water, everything's peaceful, and then suddenly your boat is surrounded by some of the most powerful animals in the sea. That's exactly what sailor Martin Evans went through. It's that jarring moment where you realize, whoa, I'm not just watching this from a distance anymore. I'm in it.
And look, this wasn't just a one-time thing or some kind of freak accident. Nope. This was the start of a very consistent, very strange pattern of behavior, one that has sailors, scientists, and wildlife experts all scrambling for answers. So, right after the first global lockdown, these reports started trickling in. Orcas, killer whales, were coming right up to sailboats and interacting with them. But not just interacting, they were specifically going for the rudders, and in many cases, breaking them right off. This wasn't some ancient behavior they'd always had. This was brand new.
Okay, so let's get into how people started to figure this out. As these reports began to pile up, a team of researchers from Spain and Portugal knew they had to get on this, and fast. They needed data, they needed evidence.
The group they formed is called the Atlantic Orca Working Group, or GTOA, and they have been tracking every single one of these encounters. By early 2024, they've logged over 500 different incidents. That database they've built, it's become absolutely essential to even begin to understand this puzzle.
Now, what's really wild is where all this is happening, the Strait of Gibraltar. I mean, think about it. It's this tiny bottleneck that every boat has to squeeze through to get from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean. It's one of the busiest shipping highways on the planet. So these encounters are happening in an incredibly crowded and, you could say, contested space.
So the GTOA isn't just sitting back and watching this happen. They're jumping into action, creating tools to try and help. They've actually built an app that gives sailors a heads up about high-risk red zones to avoid. And they're using photos from every encounter to identify the individual orcas, trying to see exactly who in the population is taking part. So, here it is, the million-dollar question. Why? Why would these incredibly smart animals just start doing this destructive thing out of the blue? Well, scientists have kind of boiled it down to a few main theories. And honestly, they all make a certain kind of sense. You've got a few different camps. Could it just be a game? A fad that some bored teenage orcas started that caught on? Or is it something way more serious, like a direct response to some kind of traumatic event? And then there's a third idea. Maybe they're just practicing their hunting skills, and the rudder looks and feels like the fin of a big whale.
And get this, that fad theory, it's not as crazy as it sounds. It actually wouldn't be the first time orcas have picked up a totally bizarre trend. Back in the 80s, one group started this fashion of wearing dead salmon on their heads like hats. No kidding. It had no purpose, and then after about a year, poof, they just stopped. So this could be something just like that. But then you have the trauma theory, and it's a powerful one. This idea suggests this isn't random play at all, but a very deliberate learned response. Maybe a matriarch, the leader of the family, was hit by a rudder or got tangled in a fishing line, and now she's teaching her family that these things are a threat that needs to be taken out.
But to really get a handle on any of these theories, we have to look closer at the orcas themselves. Because this story, it isn't just about the boats. It's about this very specific, very unique group of animals. To get their behavior, you have to get their world. See, these aren't just any killer whales. The Iberian orcas are what's called a distinct ecotype. The easiest way to think about it is like a separate culture. They have their own dialect, their own social rules, and a really specific diet that sets them apart from all the other orcas on Earth. And this unique little culture, they are living right on a knife's edge. They're officially classified as critically endangered. Their main food source, bluefin tuna, has been massively overfished. And as we've said, they live in one of the noisiest, most crowded shipping lanes in the world. They are a population under an incredible amount of pressure. And we're not talking about a huge population here. The entire ecotype, the whole culture, is made up of only about 50 adult animals. That's it. Every single one is precious, and losing even a few of them could be just catastrophic for their survival. So when you put all the pieces together, the whole mystery kind of shifts. It stops being just, why are these orcas attacking boats? And it becomes something bigger. It becomes, What happens when an intelligent, endangered species and a global, industrial species both need to use the exact same tiny strip of ocean just to survive?
And that quote really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Out there, on the water, we're not the apex predator. We are in the orca's world, and in that world, they are bigger, they are stronger, and they make the rules.
So, faced with this totally new challenge, it's humans who are being forced to adapt. The advice for sailors has completely changed from stop and wait it out to hug the coastline where the orcas don't go. And it's sparking brand new ideas, forcing us to rethink how we design our ships to coexist. So, in the end, the Gibraltar orca mystery, it isn't really about finding some simple explanation for a weird animal behavior. It's holding up a mirror to us, and it's asking a pretty profound question about living together on an increasingly crowded planet. It's asking if we're willing to adapt, if we're willing to make space, and if we're willing to change.